Chipotle is better than 90% of Mexican food. Well, here we are today on Calle Zacatecas, guys, going to Gorditas Balvis right here, one of my favorite restaurants, one of my favorite local restaurants, and they got a little bit of everything. Let's go check it out, and I'll show you how much better this is than Chipotle. So here's their menu, guys. They got a little bit of everything. Tacos, dorados, gorditas, sopes, a little bit of everything. They got a bunch of guisos right here. Beautiful. They got arroz, they got spaghetti, they got hot cakes over there. Gorditas de papa, chile relleno, gorditas in general. Got some caldo over there, and then we got nopal con huevo, which is amazing. So what I got was a chile relleno, frijoles, arroz, some cebolla. I got a coca, not a bootleg Coca-Cola. The cocas in Mexico are the best ones in the world. It comes with some tortillas for my frijoles, and I got some gorditas con frijol, queso y rajas. Check that out. Look at that. Infinitely better than Chipotle. And crazy enough, guys, I unintentionally made this vegetarian. I didn't even realize, but this is a vegetarian plate. But delicious. And look at this, guys. Rajas, queso y frijol.
Fill in the blank for me. Two men getting married is blank.
Disgusting.
Actually, the answer is legal in the United States.
It's legal, but I don't like it.
It's important to believe in, to have respect for everyone's religion.
So you respect Christianity?
I do.
Judaism?
Yes.
Islam?
No.
Can a woman be president?
The presidency is a man's job.
I have women are qualified to be president.
No. A female has more hormones. She could start a war in 10 seconds. If she has hot flashes, whatever, boom.
Haven't all wars been started by men?
Yes.
Do you think a gay couple should have the same rights as a...
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't think it's fair.
To the gay couple?
Well, no, but the regular couple, they work so hard, and the gay couple, they want more.
When you say more, do you mean equal?
Yeah, they want equal in that.
And that's just too much.
Yeah.
No, that's the wrong answer. Sorry, hold on. Turns out Trump's ideology test was going to be harder than I thought.
Whenever I hear president, I think of man. It's a man's job. What sort of, I may be...
Close-minded.
No, yeah, well, no.
Misogynistic?
No.
You're voting against your own interests.
That's it. Thank you very much.
These extreme nations, they don't treat women with respect.
We treat women with respect here.
Yes, we do.
That's an American ideal.
Yeah.
Tell me about your shirt. Well, what's it say?
It says, Hillary sucks. But not like Monica.
Hilarious. So we were talking about treating women with respect.
It's an American ideal that we treat women with respect.
You got to give me the back of that shirt one more time. That's too much fun.
Trump that bitch!
We don't even see the irony in it. I love it, right? As passionate.
Yep, I'm the very one and same. I got arrested for having a seizure in 2006 at Columbus, Indiana East High School. I wouldn't say that I fought the cops. I threw one punch. It landed. I don't remember it, but it landed. I wouldn't call it a fight though, and it wasn't my fault. It was that stupid fucking dean who had a twig up her ass about her husband leaving her for her brother. She called the police and told them they had a disorderly student and needed backup, and the cops came rolling appropriately. And I didn't even do anything wrong. I apparently fell asleep in class, started having a fucking seizure, and the math teacher, in his infinite 4-year fucking degree in mathematics, decided that it would be a genius idea to ignore all the fucking students that have been dealing with my seizures for 3 years and wake my ass up. Well, about the time he decided to go get a book to slam on my desk because he got frustrated about me being non-responsive, I started to come out of one seizure, and he beat that book on my desk, scared the ever-loving fuck shit out of me. I apparently turned into a motherfucking Avenger because I did a backflip out of my chair. My best friend was in a wheelchair, and she tried to trap me in the room by wheeling in front of the fucking door, and I apparently did some more Avenger shit over the top of her. Bounced off of all the motherfucking walls like a pinball, okay? And
so first I want to say thank you. I know that a lot of people find my page through their FYP or through someone like, sadly, Matt Walsh, and they get here on the wrong foot, and we start off on the wrong foot. For reference, my daughter, my transgender daughter, is almost 9. She will be 9 in July. And I think that sometimes when we hear the 2-year-old part of it and we hear the word transgender, that we think that that language has been introduced to them and that it's confusing for them, if it's confusing for us as adults, etc. And it's not that she came to me and said she's transgender. It's that she came to me and said, I'm a girl. And when she was so insistent, persistent, consistent for more than 6 months, that was when we got serious about it. So when folks say things like, oh, my kid says they want to be a dog, or my kid wants to be a unicorn or a car, or we don't let our kids vote or smoke or drink, we shouldn't let them make these decisions. The reality is that there are kids that do decide and realize and feel as though they do not align, their gender doesn't align with the sex they were assigned at birth. And the younger that happens, in our case, she was 4 when she told us she was a girl, the more you run the risk of impacting negatively on their mental health, as well as you also run the risk for self-harm. And that's what I mean by listening to your child, listening to what they say to you, allowing them to explore who they are. But when people say things like, wait until they're older, let them figure it out then, the reality is the impact and the negative impact to their mental health that could potentially happen the longer that you wait to just get on board with them and listen to them for wanting to maybe change their name, their pronouns, their gender expression, and that's it. You do more harm than good the longer you wait. So I appreciate the opportunity to explain a little bit more, and I wish that more people would ask questions and would actually have a little more humility around this topic, because I think that we would all find that we're actually not that much different.
I'm gonna make this video again because the music was loud in the last one.
All right, let's see it.
If I had a choice to go see a dentist with a degree from Harvard versus one who learned from a handbook in their backyard, it's a no-brainer decision. Yeah, I believe you would believe that. You're spiritually illiterate, obviously, and just follow anybody that says they have a degree. I would rather somebody that never went to Harvard, that sat in their backyard with a dentistry book, that had been practicing dentistry with clients, learning the trade his entire life. He worked on patients. He know what he did right or wrong. He learned from his mistakes and from his successes. He knows the tools. He knows what medicine to use. He's developed that relationship in dentistry. He's done it. But you want to go to the one that sits in a classroom. Dan McClellan has a PhD about biblical stuff, but never got to know the author of that biblical stuff. He never got to know the person all that stuff was about, so the Spirit never could reveal the truth.
So 2 things to say in response to this video. The first is that these assumptions about my background and my motivations are entirely false. The entire reason I dedicated my entire life to studying the Bible is because I fell in love with learning about Jesus through studying the Bible, while I spent 2 years in South America preaching the gospel in another language. Now,
this story is about pure fucking evil. About an American system that's turned on its own citizens. Never in my lifetime did I think I would ever be witness to such an event. But about a week ago, I listened to a woman, Deborah Dorbit, who was pregnant in Florida with a child. In week 24 of the pregnancy, she found out that the child, the unborn, had no kidneys, and was told by the doctors would not survive. And the doctors also told her that they could not abort because for fear they could be arrested, they could lose their license, they could go to jail, they could do whatever. So she was faced with a choice of either leaving the state, seeking some other area to get an abortion. They did not have the financial resources to take that choice, or she can just go to full term and as a high-risk pregnancy and with a potential life-threatening scenario as a result of it, caused by things like preeclampsia. This is Americans doing this shit to other Americans. No wonder Ronnie signed an abortion bill in the middle of the night. And the Supreme Court and Clarence and those clowns, they started all this. This woman wound up, her story, when the baby was born, Milo was the child's name, she held that baby for 99 minutes and said she was there for the baby's first breath and his last breath. 99 minutes of pure fucking hell caused by people that do not give a shit about the Constitution, the constitutional rights of women, or any of this. This is an embarrassment to every American. This story should get way more exposure, way more publicity, because it is symbolic of what is going on in America, in many of the states. And if the Republican get elected, it'll be national. And Deborah now has to deal, as she said, with a lifetime of memories of holding a child that she knew was going to die. I can't even comprehend what that is. And here's the irony of the whole thing. The stupidest thing of all is there's no reason for this. Because the cost, the healthcare cost, let's put all the emotion, all the human side. God forbid we should deal with people's feelings. I wouldn't want Ronnie to get mad at me because I actually give a shit about the people that he supposedly is looking out for. Do you realize the cost to the system of her going full term as a high-risk pregnancy, as opposed to having the only logical thing to do, have an abortion, so that she would not have a lifetime of depression and what have you? There's not a single reason on the planet, none, to justify what I just told you. None. This is just pure fucking evil, as I started out by saying. And this is a story. I'm going to repeat this later on in future postings, because to hear this woman and what she went through, for no reason, because of politics and bullshit and people wanting to exert their power over the vulnerable. Ronnie DeSantis is a fucking asshole. And all the people that participate in this war on women and children and families, we got to change this shit, or we are all doomed. This story is about pure fucking evil. About an American system.
In a pretty stunning turn of events, the far-right House Freedom Caucus today confirmed that they have...
Cheese! Cheese! What you doing? What you see? What? What you see? Who are you saying hi to? Who are you saying hi to? Dude, you need to stop that. You're freaking me out. Come on.
Hola, buenas tardes. Listen, I used to see spooky videos and everything pop up, and I'm like, what, you just happened to be recording at the right time and something showed up? But the more I do this, the more I realize that...
So B is trying to make fun of me because in Mexico we have to warm up our water.
Trigger warning. Dumbass white supremacist. I'll be back in a minute.
Born non-white must be so hard, man. Whenever I walk into a room, full of colored people, they just bow down to me. They worship me because I'm white. And they're not. And they know that I'm on, the top of the human genetic sphere.
Wow, that's quite the achievement to make it to the top of the human genetic sphere. Which, by the way, doesn't exist because geneticists don't measure things in units of spheres. Because it's a sphere. It would have made more sense to say you were top of the human genetic dodecahedron, or human genetic trapezoid. Every point on a sphere is equidistant from the center, meaning every point would have the same value. And that would just confuse the shit out of everybody. Especially if that sphere were to rotate. And one would think that a true member of the master race would have a better understanding of basic geometry. So if the human genetic sphere actually did exist, there is no doubt in my mind that you would be nowhere near the top of it. Well, anyway, this has been Doc for Diesel Punk Industries, proving once again that the term white supremacist is an oxymoron. Thanks for watching, and as always, Crunchy White Pimp forever.
Hey guys, so a lot of people have been asking me to respond to this fool.
3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
So, I mean, initially I was just going to ignore it, but why not? Let me help you out, young man. So, where to begin? So I think where you have to start with somebody like that person, who feels the need to say that is, number one, they're trolling, right? I mean, he's saying it to get a reaction. He would like to create a reaction, not just from Black people, who are his sort of main foil in trying to get clicks and views, but also from racist white people who are his base, right? And so he wants to, rev up the whites to get them all, hot and bothered and downloading his, what does he do, a podcast or like a Twitter show or whatever it is that he does, right? So that's number one, it's trolling. Number two, I think that it actually is very revelatory of someone who represents a group of people who kind of operate from this notion of real basic entitlement, right? Just think about it. If the construction that you create is that every desirable thing, right, white people are fundamentally entitled to it. So, right, so if there's a desirable thing, entrance to an elite university, a job, a promotion, anything that is considered societally good, certain people start with this sort of basic fundamental bottom line that a white person is entitled to that, period, right? So it's a good thing, a white person is entitled to it. So that if a non-white person gets this good thing, they automatically took it from a white person. That sort of thinking, that kind of fundamental thinking is racist. It's fundamentally racist because what it says is white people are entitled to all good things. We start with the baseline that a white person should have said good things, said promotion, said job, right? And so essentially, I guess what he's saying is he feels like, someone like him is entitled to everything that someone like myself or Mrs. Obama or Representative Jackson Lee or Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson has. That they had to have taken it from the fundamentally entitled person, which is a white person. So we start with that. That's a fundamentally racist notion. So we can just set that aside as just pure basic, not even interesting, sort of boring racism. But then if we go to the specifics of it, okay, and I've talked about this before on this feed, but I'll do it again just because apparently some people are ineducable. Harvard University has about a 3 to 4% acceptance rate. It's like maximum 4%. They don't accept very many people. And in order to even get through the front door, the baseline of qualification is that you have to have like a 1400 plus SAT score or really high ACT. I didn't take the ACT, so I don't know what the ACT score is, but it has to be really high, right? And you have to have really good grades and you have to have good extracurriculars. Like you have to meet that baseline, okay? So for someone like me, who did better on my SATs than 9 out of 10 people I think it was like 94 percentile. By the time I did the SAT, I was 95th percentile on the PSAT. I think it was like 94 when I did the SAT, right? So that means I did better on the test than 94%. That's how percentiles work for the guy from, what did he drop out of community college? Not that people who go to community college aren't smart, but bruh, you didn't even finish, okay? You didn't make it through. Okay, so we're going to start with the fact that you don't have a whole lot of candle wattage to work with. So I got to explain things to you on a very basic level. So I'm going to talk slow for you. So that's how percentiles work. I had a 94th percentile for the SATs, meaning I did better than 94% of the people, including the white people who took that test. So that's the first hurdle you have to get through. Grade point average, 4.2 grade point average, you got to be at a certain threshold. And I didn't just get into Harvard, I also got into Yale and Brown and Vassar and the University of Denver. The one school I didn't get into was Stanford. I tried early admission, didn't get into Stanford early admission. But all the other schools I applied to, I got into, which means that I wasn't just of interest to one elite school. I was of interest to a lot of colleges. And I think University of Denver and Vassar have like slightly higher acceptance rates, have much higher acceptance rates than an Ivy. But I got into 3 Ivy League colleges, which means it's the way that like they recruit athletes at schools, right? There's a certain percentage of students in this country who are really good athletes, really good basketball players, or really good football players, or really good hockey players, or whatever. And all the schools are going to circle around those students. So elite students of every race are kind of all being like circled around like sharks circling you, right? And then you just pick one of the schools. So your premise falls apart because a similarly situated white student at the time who also did better on their SATs than 95% of the other white people, that person probably also got into multiple schools because we're similarly situated. I'm black, they're white. These schools decided they really wanted somebody, they also have very low admission rates from the Mountain West, which is where Denver and Colorado is, right? I was from Colorado. Very, very few people come from there. Most people who go to elite colleges come from New England. It's like a quarter or more of the students are already in New England. So if you add to the fact that you're from the West, that you're from a sort of region that's non-traditional for going to that school. You add to the fact that you've got like athleticism on your resume, which I had, and you have lots of extracurriculars. You kind of have all the ingredients. A similarly situated white person probably also got into multiple good schools. And so I think that person is fine. I don't think that person has been denied the opportunities to succeed because of me. You think that because you're operating from a racist framework, right? That my particular spot, which could have been at any of those other schools, I could have done the same thing at Yale, and baby, I'd still be right here. So what you're saying is that nobody black is fundamentally entitled based on their qualifications to be at an Ivy League school or to be at any elite school. What you're saying is that nobody black is foundationally entitled based on their qualifications. That's all for white people. And that anybody black who then gets through the door took it, quote unquote, from a white person. That doesn't make sense. That's like saying, every white person is entitled to be in the NBA. So that if, a white person doesn't get picked, by an NBA team, their spot was taken by a black person. No, just like colleges can pick whoever they want, NBA teams can pick whoever they want, NFL teams can pick whoever they want. They're choosing based on multiple characteristics. They know what they want. And they're deciding based on lots of different factors what they want. And if they don't want this one particular white person, that white person can go elsewhere. But you don't think that because you think nobody that's black, particularly black, but black, brown, non-white, is entitled to be at these schools. There are some other fundamental flaws in this way of thinking because they try to scapegoat Asians and say, well, Asians are being discriminated against. Right now, Harvard's incoming class is about 15% black, which is close to the black population in the country. It's 27% Asian. Asian Americans are about 5% of the population, but they're like 27% of the population of Harvard right now. So that's under affirmative action because that class was admitted with affirmative action being legal. So I think there are a lot of Asian Americans, and those are elite students, meaning that the other similarly situated Asian American students got into other elite schools. They probably got into Stanford, which I didn't. You see what I'm saying? There is a small number of sort of elite students who all get scoped by all the top schools. What we really should be having a conversation about is not where all the elite students are going with the high grades, et cetera. It's how do we get college in general to be more affordable and accessible to all students at all GPAs, at all levels of preparedness, and how do we prepare more students to be able to go to college so that they can make a really good living and also get out of college without mountains of debt. Because I got massive amounts of scholarships. I only had $15,000 worth of debt. And also Harvard was only $22,000 a year when I graduated in 91. We need to work on these issues of college debt. We need to issues of college affordability and the inflation, the huge inflation in the price of going to college. I think it's $86,000 a year now. That's crazy, right? And we also need to talk about real issues. This bullshit, are you basically saying you're jealous because you wanted to host a TV show or be a congressperson, be on the Supreme Court, or be the first lady? Because, baby, you wouldn't have been any of those regardless. Because clearly, you really ain't that interesting, and you clearly ain't that smart. So you wouldn't have been doing this no way, baby. I didn't take your opportunity. Those opportunities weren't there for you. It's just based on who you are. So don't be jealous and envious. Wake up, grow up, and use your platform to talk about things that actually really matter to the American people. Be blessed.